My problem is more with these Democrats who will bury these allegations against their candidates or their candidates' spouses and then play holier than thou when they're looking at Donald Trump.
Megyn Kelly went on a New York Times podcast. They've got a podcast over there at the New York Times. I'm sure they're faking their numbers on that too. And you can see the host really wants to get her on something with Trump. And Megyn just, once again, this is a Megyn Kelly masterclass.
I just want to understand something clearly. Donald Trump was found liable for sexual abuse in a civil court. He's been accused by many women. You don't believe any of that?
I think the most serious thing I've heard about him has been the E. Jean Carroll allegation that he sexually assaulted her in a Bergdorf dressing room. And I don't believe one word of that.
There are other women who have said.
I know, I've interviewed some of them. But look, the things I heard were included things like he got handsy on an airplane. Now, I don't know whether that happened or it didn't, but do I find that a deal breaker for a possible politician? Not really. At least I reported on their stories and did them the courtesy of bringing them to air in front of millions of people and let the audience make up its mind. My problem is more with these Democrats who will bury these allegations against their candidates or their candidates' spouses and then play holier than thou when they're looking at Donald Trump. You have to understand, like, if you haven't sold your soul, you have to be willing to criticize the people, even that you admire, on your, quote, side. And my owning my bias by going out there on stage with Donald Trump and saying, I'm voting for him and you should too, is a bonus when it comes to my credibility. Now, everybody has zero doubt about where I stand, and they can filter everything I say through the appropriate lens. What typically happens in journalism is they say they have no bias, and then they just work it out in the printed word or on their shows without owning it. But the audience knows it, and it creates a distrust and a divide. When it comes to Trump and me, no, my own personal opinion is most of the allegations against him are much more complicated than the mainstream media would have you believe. And I don't think Donald Trump is a rapist or a sexual assaulter. I do think he's taken inappropriate liberties with women and gotten handsy with them in a way he's owned himself. Okay, years ago when he was a celebrity, and it is what it is. That's the past. But it's just about so much more than that. We are talking about how many people dying at the southern border because of the invasion that we've suffered under Joe Biden. We're talking about Laken Riley, whose killer was let in under Biden. We put him on a taxpayer flight down to Georgia where he murdered her. I don't give a about Trump getting handsy with somebody 20 years ago. I want someone who will close the border, which he has. I want someone who will keep boys out of my daughter's sports, which he has. I want someone who will stand up to the insane DEI policies so that white kids will stop hearing in school that they're born with some original sin from which they cannot recover, which he has.
That's right, Megyn. And that's why we're winning. And it's like, lady, whoever you are, interviewer, it doesn't even matter. Like, you're just sitting in a chair for the New York Times and you're an interchangeable part. But lady, with all your good liberal values, and I'm sure you read the New York Times with your coffee on the Upper East over the weekend and you sit there with light jazz music playing in the background, it's going to be Donald Trump that saves your ability to do that. Because liberals need conservatives to hold the door to stop all the bad guys from coming in. So no one cares about the 20-year-old scandals already or the rest of it. So that's just a great job.